the American Constitutional Republic. Affairs of state in Oklahoma. The beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of people just like me. This is 3D Politics. Here we are again featuring me, the Verbal Viking. Find me at theverbalviking.com. And of course, you can email me at verbalviking@gmail.com. Tonight, we have an impressive lineup of a show. Amazing stuff that you won't believe is going on nationwide from rural to regional. Irrational has gone national. DHS, Breaking Bad, Department of Hell and Stitches. Tonight, producer and director Kevin Batts is coming up. But before that, I want to thank Pastor Dan Fisher for last week showing up to bring us information about the Black Robed Regiment. He's bringing that back. Check out his show. You can find him at Dan Fisher, BRR. Search all over. You'll find him, Black Robe Regiment. Bringing back the Black Robe Regiment. Pastor Dan Fisher. Also, he has a brand new book, Unlimited Submission. And I want to thank Dan Fisher for coming out and being on the show last week. Also, next week, Oklahoma City mayoral candidate Frank Urbanek is going to be on our show next week, Monday. Halt the Holt, hashtag Halt the Holt. That's right. Frank Urbanek is going to be with 3D Politics next week, 7 p.m. on Monday. And don't forget on your calendar, December 10th, Boots and Bling event, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Redneck Yacht Club. John Bennett is going to be speaking. Jackson Lawmeyer, Senator Nathan Dahm, Oklahoma City Mayoral Frank Urbanek also speaking at the Boots and Bling event, 6 to 8 p.m. December 10th at the Redneck Yacht Club. And, of course, Oklahoma 2A President Don Spencer. Tonight, DHS, Breaking Bad, Department of Hell and Stitches. Producer, director Kevin Batts, who is bringing us new Red River Chronicle information. Kevin Batts is a video director from Oklahoma and a veteran of wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. He does in-depth, cutting-edge stories, hard-hitting news with Red River TV. He works with his wife and writer Janelle Batts, who she says, without free thinkers, we are indeed lost as a nation. Tonight, we bring you the Woolley Family. Woolley Family chronicles from Red River. A rogue runs amok, an unqualified detective, a supervisor determines murder without ever being on the scene, accusations of rape of a minor, exculpatory evidence ignored, systemic class discrimination, and forced removal of children, all tonight on 3D Politics. Let's first see if we can find by audio. Let's see if we can hear him.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Oh, there he is, and let's ask him to bring him in. Let's see if we can beam him in. There he is.
All right. Yeah.
Kevin Batts.
Hey.
Poof. My producer, Scotty, totally messed up all of the sound effects that beamed you in. And so, wow.
Oh, my goodness.
The production value was lacking. Kevin Batts, we appreciate you being here tonight. You produce on a regular basis for Red River TV, some high-quality, hard-hitting stuff. Tonight, this is a no-frills and no-jokes expose on the underbelly of DHS. So I appreciate you being here, and we're going to try to roll some video footage of an interview that you did with the grandparents, William and Lisa Woolley, what I call a forensic interview talking about what happened before, during, and after the trial. What can you tell us about what we're getting ready to watch tonight?
Well, basically, this was the hardest, probably say one of the hardest. I like what the way you put it. You said forensic interview.
Yeah,
that's actually really good. I might have to take that from you. I'll give you attribution.
Do it.
But
yeah,
this was one of the hardest forensic interviews of the first one we've ever done like this. We sat down with the Woolley family and learned about their plight and their fight with DHS and their fight where they lost everything to clear their name in the wrongful being wrongfully accused of murdering their grandson and sexually assaulting their grandson at that. So they were forced to give up everything to try to prove their innocence. And then after that, now they have a fight with Oklahoma DHS, which is an entity which is not recognizing that innocence. So this was a really hard thing to put together because we knew it was really important. And I will say this before we go into this. This has not been published yet. This is an exclusive for 3D Politics. This is the first bit of marketing that we're doing on this. This is kind of, I wouldn't call this a debut. I would call this a sneak peek. So this is exclusive footage right now of an interview that will be going out this Thursday. And we try to keep it exclusive with 3D Politics because they helped us premiere our last documentary, our very first one. So as we go down the line of premiering these big things, we hope to make this program a part of that because I think it's awesome what you're doing.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And your video quality and delivery is always professional and 100% high quality. So I love bringing that to the show. And I appreciate that hat tip there. Hey, I want to share a couple things right off the bat first to try to kind of set this up. Because remember, what they tell us in today's world is you got to, you want to trust the authorities, especially the cops, And so then what you find out is, well, gosh, it's unfortunate how it is that these two former police officers face up to 10 years in prison because they actually tasered a guy 50 times. Okay. So,
Jeez.
But hey, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes, you want to trust the other cops, because they're out there eating stuff. Even though the mayor's got a community coalition, the problem here is that two police officers were charged with, helping conceal the evidence of a shooting, and that was bad.
Holy crap.
Sometimes that happens, though. Come on now, Kevin, please. Just because a couple of cops conceal a weapon and that other one I just did, you can trust the county, right? Unless, of course, it's a former Tulsa County detention officer who's arrested, accused of smuggling drugs. And, of course, who doesn't need a cell phone when you're in jail? So they tell us to trust all these people, right? They tell us trust the cops, trust the county, trust these people. And recently, of course, this poor gal, a mother's taken into custody after a standoff involving police, Allison Parker. Here, as it says, and the police pinned her in the back seat of her car and got the kids out. So you can imagine keeping the kids safe. You always want to teach the kids to trust cops by pinning your mother in the back seat of a car.
Wow. Incredible.
And so keeping in mind that we've got to trust the county and the cops and the DHS for taking your kids.
You came with some receipts on that one.
Here we are. So 2018 in Wagoner County, an 18-month infant dies of S.I.D.S death, the sudden infant death syndrome, and a runaway judge. She decides to go rogue and tell us what happened. Kevin Batts.
So what happened was the Woolley family, their 18-month-old grandson. They had their 18-month-old grandson, or 16 months rather, 16-month-old grandson, and their other grandson, I think, who was 6 at the time. So they had both of them guardianship of both of them, the children, and because their daughter was going through a rough time. So they woke up one morning and they discovered that the little boy, 16-month-old boy, had died, and later known was SIDS. That's what it died of, SIDS, just sudden infant death syndrome.
Right.
And when you look at the science behind SIDS, you see that it's mostly boys that have that, and the boy had probably grown up around his mother. I think she might have had some drug issues, so it might have been some of that going on. So when you have things like that going on, you're more predisposed to have incidents like that happen with young children. But anyway, so they call the police and law enforcement arrive, paramedics and everybody arrives. Unbeknownst to them, before the supervisor for the detective shows up, they're talking to one of the paramedics, and the paramedics is like, yeah, this looks like SIDS, but I don't think the sheriff's department is going to let this go. And they're like, what the heck? And so unbeknownst to them, the supervisor calls the detective on the scene and says, oh no, stop everything. I'm headed to a murder scene because there's no such thing as SIDS. So that's the first red flag. That's what they found out later on, that he said that.
This is the person that said that is the supervisor to the detective.
Yeah. And I don't know. We didn't give any names on purpose with this because we try not to
right. But the point is, because we're pointing out is an abuse of what happens when you trust a bureaucracy that has no name or a face to take accountability for it. Okay, supervisor who is in charge of a detective who is unqualified decides, the supervisor decides in his mind there's no such thing as SIDS. Okay, so he says if a child dies, even though just under 2,500 children die of SIDS every year, it's well documented, the supervisor decides that since there's no SIDS, he says it's murder. And he sends a detective out with the predetermination in the mind of the detective that he's looking at a murder scene. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So what begins after that is essentially them being investigated as if they're murderers. They treat the grandfather, Bill Woolley, as they make accusations against him saying that he raped that baby and killed that baby. And they said they're going to put him in jail for the rest of his life, if not give him the death penalty. So they're treating him like he's the scum of the earth. They leave evidence at the house, evidence that would go towards clearing them. The only evidence they had to actually charge these folks with this crime was an interview with a 6-year-old that wasn't, they had like 2 or 3 forensic interviews where everything was videotaped and they had people there and everything like that. They had one interview where no one was around. It was just the social worker and the boy. And by her notes after their conversation, speaking in complete sentences because the boy had a stutter. He had a little lisp, like young boys tend to have, young kids. Okay. So speaking in complete sentences, oh yeah, Bill Woolley did these things to me and my brother, essentially. So they had that, and then they used a coroner's autopsy where the coroner had no training with infants, and in the state of Oklahoma, so few infants die that there's not a lot of experienced coroners in that field. So essentially, when they had the experts go back and double check the work of this coroner, nothing that she said even matched, to the point where they didn't call it fraud, they didn't call it a lie, but I'm calling it a lie. I say that coroner lied to do that. I say that the social worker did the same thing.
All right, you're listening to Kevin. Very good. You're listening to Kevin Batts, producer director of Red River TV. I want you to set up a clip if you can here as we get going.
Absolutely.
Something like this happened. We covered on 3D Politics January 27th of 2020. Bowles. They went to her house, peeped in her window, window and made what they call an attempt to a Tamsin Bowles home. Essentially, not that they said these words, but they utilized their Fifth Amendment and Fourth Amendment rights. And what happened was the state used their use. That is, the Bowles family exercised their Fifth and Fourth Amendments. That is, the right not to speak against themselves and the right to protect their effects and private information. That is, to require a warrant. And what the state did was use those amendments against the Bowles family as obstruction of justice. Okay, wow. So if you defend yourself against a state who presumes your guilt, then that is an obstruction of justice. If justice is we're looking to see if you're guilty and we know you are to start, then if you defend yourself, then you indeed are obstructing their justice. But if the presumption of innocence, which is what we're losing in today's world, if the presumption of innocence is in existence, then when the state comes against you and says you won't speak to us and we can't look, then the presumption of innocence protects you from this obstruction of justice. The justice exists because you're innocent by presumption. They've turned it exactly upside down. Further, what I've learned in this story is that DHS does not recognize cases that are overturned by law. So, for instance, if you are in court and your case is overturned and you are now not guilty, DHS doesn't even recognize what the court said about your guilt or innocence. All right, let's share. Before I get off my Heidi horse about the Tamsin Bowles story, you can find this information about the Tamsin. The Tulsa family gets raided by thuggish child welfare force. This is right here in Oklahoma. And again, here in Wagoner County, we're talking about the Woolley family. So let's roll some tape before we get too further in the show.
All right, what I'm going to play is actually the this is the introduction to this saga.
Very good.
So it's the introduction, and let me get it going.
Hold on one
second.
Red River Chronicle, the Woolley family, from Kevin Batts. Audio.
Oh, there's no audio?
No audio.
Oh. How do I do that?
Go back to share and click share for audio and make sure you got to go back to share, and there's two click boxes
share
on the
sound.
bottom left. Share sound.
Oh, I see that. Optimize video clip.
My audience is smart enough to bear with us for this important information.
All right, got share audio on there, and we're good to go. All right, let me rewind that back a little bit.
Parents, after a months-long investigation, William and Lisa Woolley, you can see them here, are both charged with first-degree murder and child sex abuse.
That were not consistent, or what investigators said, not consistent with a natural death.
All charges being dismissed, but that may not be the end of this story, Clay.
This is a huge development. It is vindication.
A rally was held this weekend for a couple once accused in their youngest grandson's death. Fox 23 has told you how all charges against Lisa and Bill Woolley were dropped, and now they're trying to be reunited with their other grandson. Fox 23's Abigail Dye heard their message.
By Now, for more than 2 years, they've insisted they were wrongfully charged in Wagoner County following the death of their 14-month-old grandson. For the past year, I have been digging into this case surrounding the couple from Broken Arrow.
This is part 2 of our series on the Woolley family. In 2018, Lisa Woolley found her 18-month-old grandson in his crib, dead. This death started a 4-year battle that proved their innocence, but cost them everything. From cooperating with law enforcement to submitting to DHS questioning, they did everything they were supposed to do. In return, they were accused of one of the most horrific things someone could be accused of. The Woolleys, grandparents who had adopted their 2 grandchildren from their daughter, who was going through a rough time, gave these boys a loving home, but one tragedy completely changed their lives and how they view the legal system in this state. The actions by law enforcement that day would leave them financially destitute. They sat down with Red River TV to tell their complete story. This interview is uncut. The only real edits were made for time. But we captured the complete substance of this family's fight with the legal system and their new fight with the Department of Human Services.
Wow.
All right. That's a, oh, wait, is it still going?
No, you did good. Next time we roll the next segment, you want to kill your video so that we can focus on what you want to kill your live camera.
Oh, okay.
So we can focus on what's going on. So yeah, let's. In fact, we're about. We started about 5 minutes late. We're about 10 minutes till the break. So let's roll. Let's roll and roll some of your tape and let's get into the interview.
All right. Hold on one second. Let me get it back up.
This is some killer stuff. I did not realize this was an exclusive. I refrained from using that word, not knowing for sure. So this is exciting. The 3D Politics is bringing you this footage exclusively. It's not the official premiere, but this has not been released generally. 3D Politics has got an opportunity to show our audience this early.
All right, first let me take my video off.
Very good.
Share. All right, and this is the beginning of the first segment.
Thank you.
In 2018, on a Friday morning, it was Good Friday actually, we got our grandson off to school, and then after a little while I went in to feed the baby, who was just over a year old, and when I went to get him, his body was stone cold and rigid, and I yelled out, and my youngest daughter was 17 in the room next door. She came running, and I asked her, I told her, please call 911. I was still holding the baby's body, and she was dialing 911. They started sending people out. They sent out, the sheriff's department sent their people, the ME's office sent their people, the DHS sent their people, and that's how it all began. But the tone was, well, they put us out of the house pretty quickly, and so we weren't allowed to go into the house. There was a sense about the detective that was unsettling. He seemed angry or something, like maybe he had a chip on his shoulder, but we were later to find out that the supervisor of the detective, the lead detective, had talked on the phone to the lead detective before the lead detective got to the house. And the lead detective said to his supervisor that he was coming to a murder scene because there's no such thing as SIDS.
No such thing as SIDS? It is important to understand that SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, is a medically recognized form of death among infants. To have an investigator who had yet to set foot on the scene and with no medical knowledge make such a declaration is inappropriate. and an ominous sign of the whirlwind about to take place in an already tragic event surrounding the Woolley family.
Wow. So, one of the things that I have always said is that what's true in the micro is true in the macro. And the way that they're using the Fourth and Fifth Amendment against this family is the same way they used the Fourth and Fifth Amendment against the Tamsen Bowles family, where they attempted to investigate when the Bowles family said no thank you. The state did essentially a peeping through the window to make a report against the parents. Same, and so if you say, no, you can't look, and no, we're not going to talk to you, because they presume you to be guilty, then they issue a warrant. The same thing occurs with Rick Hubbard when it comes to a gun or a Second Amendment, what they call a violation, what he calls an audit. They say, hey, why are you walking around freely with a gun like you can, according to our founding fathers? He says, well, I plead the Fifth Amendment because they suggest he is presumed guilty. Then they drop him to the ground and put the cuffs on him. The same thing happened with Trump. What I'm trying to tell you here is from county to municipal to state to national, they're doing the same thing. When Trump defended himself, they labeled it as obstruction. When he says you don't get to look at my information, they say, well, you're obstructing justice. You can only obstruct justice through the Fifth and Fourth Amendment if you are presumed guilty. Okay? I'm almost over it. I mean, literally what they're doing, they're turning it upside down. And the key thing here is that we can argue all day long whether they're using the Fourth or Fifth Amendment properly or not. Context, according to independent fact checkers, is that context has it that if you are presumed guilty, the Fourth and Fifth Amendment mean one thing. If you're presumed innocent, then the Fourth and Fifth Amendment mean another thing. And what's going on here from Tamsen Bowles, where they literally chased her down into her bedroom to forcibly remove children, to another thing. Let me just share this with you real quick, because I forgot to, I think I did show you this. Here this is, this poor lady here. They chased Allison Parker down and pinned her in the back seat to take her children. To what? Save the children? What they did was emotionally scar the children for life, just like they did Tamsen Bowles. Now, Tamsen Bowles' problem was they took her children, and while her children were in foster care, one of the things they did to Tamsen Bowles was DHS wanted her to have her children vaccinated. According to the Tamsen Bowles family, they didn't want their children vaccinated, and choosing not to vaccinate their children was used to deprive their parents of their of the ownership of their authority over their children. Because according to the state, getting vaccinated is what you should do. According to the Tamsen Bowles family, they don't want to vaccinate. And the state is saying, you are wrong and we will take your children from you. Remember the routine? We're like, oh, who says they're coming for your children? Oh, they're coming for your children. Trust me, they're coming for your children. They've been coming
for their children, not they're coming for your children.
Hell yeah.
They've been coming for your children. Keep in mind, these people, not only did they lose everything, they also lost their health. And when I say they lost everything, these people had businesses. They weren't rich, but they owned businesses. They owned a home. Everything's gone. Imagine you wake up tomorrow, your retirement's gone. Any side businesses you had going on that were successful is gone. Not to mention health issues. The wife suffered a major heart attack due to all the stress centered around this. The state has completely ravished this family. And this is not the first time, the host of this great show has said multiple times, this isn't the first time it's happened in the Tulsa area. DHS is completely out of control, and they have their arm the police department in these areas to enact their will, and they are accountable to nobody. They had a judge tell them to their face, I will make sure you never see this child again.
Yeah, you're listening to the fine expose information from Kevin Bass, Red River TV. Yeah, Stephen Kunzweiler, our leftovers from Tim Harass, the generation before, brought us the same concept where parents are deprived of their own jurisdictional authority over their kids. Hey, I'm going to take you out and bring you in after the break. Hopefully this break, we're going to talk about what's coming up this weekend, or no, not this weekend, but December 10th. We are going to take you guys out like that and that like that. And then we're going to do this.
We grassroots have a great opportunity to take this party back and be who we truly say we are. Let's unite as grassroots conservatives and let's get this done. If we fight, we will win.
We were not in violation of the governor's order.
That was from our story last night at 10. The executive order issued last month says businesses cannot serve food or alcohol past 11 p.m.
We have a newly revamped website and a very active email and social media campaign. We have implemented a phone bank program to call all of the county chairs to see what their needs are and how we can help them. Since elected, I have visited and spoken at 41 different county or Republican organizations, including all the way out in the Panhandle. Our SOP committee will be rolling out an operating guide for county chairs and precinct chairs very soon. We assembled an outreach committee to grow and diversify our base with younger voters of all walks of life. In response to overwhelming demand for action, we started an election integrity committee, which is chaired by Representative Sean Roberts. We started an education committee, chaired by Linda Murphy, to address the many education issues that we're facing today. We have a digital committee working on a unified digital structure and communications with not only party officials, but also the general public. We have a fully staffed headquarters, including a volunteer coordinator, and the GOP headquarters has become a buzz for legislators. We've had forums, and we get frequent visitors from the public. We partner with grassroots groups from all over the state, and we are coordinating our efforts to fight for liberty and we, the people. And our merchandise store is officially up and filled with patriotic gear, which serves to brand our party and raise money at the same time. We're having a real grassroots fundraiser coming up, so I need you to go to buy some tickets so you can come out and fellowship with other patriots in Oklahoma City on December the 10th. Go to our website, go to our Facebook page, and find this link. And patriots, if you truly want to get our republic back, it's going to take some sacrifice. And we must be willing to stand and fight for it. Because if we don't stand and fight for our freedoms today, we won't have any freedoms to fight for tomorrow. We've got to fight for our republic harder than the third monkey trying to get on the ark, and it's starting to rain, baby. So God bless you, and God bless the great state of Oklahoma.
It's starting to rain, baby. The American Constitutional Republic. I hope we're still live. Affairs of state in Oklahoma. The beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of people just like me. This is 3D Politics. Hey, wow, that was crazy how it happened. But look at that. We just went through a break at the bottom of the hour. Let's bring back in Kevin Batts. See if we can make it happen. See if we can hear you. Oh, yeah, we can hear you.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Excellent. Woo, that was exciting. I don't know what happened, but there was a lot
ad was freaking electric. I love that.
Something
Man,
happened.
Chairman
I don't know.
Bennett. Chairman
Something
Bennett is just on fire, isn't he?
Yeah, at the end, something happened there. I like it. He's like, it's raining, baby. Whatever it is, baby. Baby. That went out, way to go. Okay, so back to the action. The thing here is we regular citizens are just living our lives every day, and we're not practiced at the art of defending ourselves against hostile takeover. But those that are hostilely taking us over are practiced in the art of hostile takeover. And they're doing it from county to municipal to state to federal, from Rick Hubbard to Trump to Tamsin Bowles, to the Woolley family, where they utilize the idea of your defense of the Fifth and Fourth Amendment as an obstruction of justice against their attempt to investigate, which I have said to Elizabeth Warren, as she has claimed that we need proof of Trump's taxes. I said, you claim to be a woman, Elizabeth Warren. Let's have a look at your skirt to make sure.
Oh,
and if you don't have anything, if you don't have anything to hide, what do you care if we look up your skirt? And this is what they're saying to Tamsin Bowles and the Woolley family. If you don't care, if you don't have anything to hide, what do you care? If you're not guilty.
Yeah.
If
Absolutely.
you're not guilty, then you should let us look up your skirt.
Here's something to add to that too. Is that,
yes, sir.
This isn't the only thing that we're following right now at Red River TV Project 46. We have at least a half dozen families that have been victimized by DHS. Maybe not in this manner, to this extreme, but two extremes like you're talking about, where law enforcement showing up at their house and butting into their lives off of hearsay from people calling. We need reform with this agency, and that's what we're trying to do with this. And one of the problems that we're seeing right now with the things that we're doing, Project 46, is that we just don't have the bandwidth. We have a lot of families that want to get their story out there, and we don't have the bandwidth to make that happen. And we've recently launched our site, project46.com. So, if people want to go on there and check us out, see what we have to offer and subscribe, that'd be a huge help in helping us break these stories loose. We also have another family that we're tracking out in Western Oklahoma that they're fighting. It has nothing to do with DHS. It's actually, he's fighting being falsely accused, and he has all the evidence that proves that he's innocent, and he's being raked through the coals of a justice system because he was falsely accused of something that he didn't do with a child. So these are the things that we're looking to bring you from our, Project 46, and we're hoping 3D Politics would go with us along the way and helping us break these stories out.
We're going to help you. Also, I get so wrapped up in the stories that I forget to remind our viewers where to find you, where to support you. So tell them where to find you and support you.
Project46.com. That's where you can go right now. Project 46, FORTYSIX, not the number, the letters 46. So project46.com. You can go on there. You can watch all the clips that we have going forward. We're only going to be releasing segments of a lot of our interviews because we want to be able to entice people to come on and sign up, because the only way we're going to have to do this with the carrot approach at this point, we have to get our audiences off these social media platforms so we can have the conversations we need to have. We have people looking to come on and do interviews, but we can't do some of the interviews that we want to do because we will be instantly blocked. We did an interview with the Dr. Merrick. I don't know if you know Merritt, and she's a famous doctor in the United States right now. But if you have her on your Facebook page, you will get blocked and you will get censored. We have an interview with her we've been sitting on for the past 6 months. We can't even put it out. So it's imperative that people support independent media any way they can to try to help us sidestep these goons. And I know that there are other people in Oklahoma that have their, they have taken their media off of Facebook. I know OTU have done that as well. So you might want to go check out their website as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of people, OHPR, same thing. So everyone's trying to figure out a way to sidestep. We have Rumble, we have all these other things, but ultimately the people that watch these things that support us have to begin to try to peruse these things we have off of main tech.
Right. Listen, we are closing in. This story was so huge. I want to get as much footage in, and we are closing on the last video. So let's find the final kind of episode or episodic clip that we can play towards the end, because we want to send people to Red River TV, project46.com, to find out more about this story. The thing that we've got to understand here is that there is a practiced routine of oppression that has been utilized by those in power for over 100 years. The people who live and die every day by going to work and filling their tank with gas and trying to just get their kids educated, they're not used to battling these things that are being shoved on them. And so we've got to become aware that ordinary people are being infringed upon at the county level, in Wagoner County, with the Woolley family, in Tulsa County, with Steve Kuntzweiler even working against Tamsin Bowles' family. Parents are damned if they do and damned if they don't, according to the libertybeacon.com, which Tamsin Bowles was mentioned in September 19th, 2021. Parents are damned if they do and damned if they don't. The bureaucracy is running downhill with a momentum, whether we have our hands on the wheel or not. And what's going on now is good people are refusing to put their hands on the wheel because they don't want to look like they're trying to control stuff. And so bad people are putting their hands on the wheel and controlling things and careening us down the hellhole. 2018, Wagoner County, an infant dies of a S.I.D.S death. The Woolley family has been destroyed by this, and we're going to have just probably one more clip from Kevin Batts.
I got that right here.
Let's do it.
And this will be the portion of the video where they go through their exoneration.
Okay.
Oh, did I not share the audio?
Got to make sure it's share audio.
Yeah, sorry. Noob here.
It's the new world. I've got to have more power, Scotty.
All right, I'm getting that on right now. Share sound is checked. Now we will play it.
We were once we got out of from bailed out the first time, we were out on bond for 4 months, and the only restrictions we had is we couldn't leave the state. And so after 4 months, they arrested us a second time for my charges were first-degree murder and sexually assault of a minor under 12. And Lisa's was first-degree murder and enabling sexual assault of a minor under 12. She had a $500,000 bond, and they refused to give me a bond. So basically, I was supposed to stay in. They wanted both of us to stay in jail until this thing was resolved. But we went 4 months before our preliminary again. And at that preliminary, we brought in an expert witness, the chief medical examiner from Wayne County in Michigan, who's over Detroit and the whole area, that area. He's been there for over 20 years. He's done more infant autopsies in 1 year than the entire Oklahoma medical examiner's office has done in their entire existence. And he took every single thing and just told how it's impossible from the findings of the medical examiner. They didn't follow protocol. They're not even accredited. They lost their accreditation 13 years ago and have never regained it. He said had they been accredited, they'd had to have followed all the guidelines on how to do an autopsy. And they're not experienced in infants. And he says there's a major difference between doing an autopsy on an infant and an adult. And after that, this is what's interesting to me is somewhere along the line in the preliminary hearing, they had talked to our attorneys and agreed they would reduce our bond to $25,000 each. And so when it came at the very end to do the bond reduction, the judge was going to rule that we'd have a $25,000 each reduction. The ADA at the last second said, Your Honor, before you rule on that, let's just combine it to $25,000 for both of them. Remember, this is first-degree murder of an infant and sexually assaulting an infant. So the judge agreed to do it for $25,000 for both of us, $12,500 each, from no bond and a $500,000 bond. Our attorney says this never happened. And my attorney's been doing this for 44 years. And so we bonded out. And the interesting thing is they botched the paperwork. So this is a late Friday. Everybody's gone. I think it's an interesting story. And then, so we had to wait till Saturday. The judge couldn't come back to fix the paperwork. They said we wouldn't get out till Monday. They called the district judge. He came down on a Saturday, an hour drive to fix the paperwork and an hour back. Why would he do that to get us out of jail if he didn't think we were innocent? If we thought we were guilty? There's no way he'd have done that.
Mm-hmm.
But
on a weekend, I mean, the guard said there's no way. You have to wait till Monday. The judge will not come down here. But I wanted to say that every allegation in the Tulsa ME report, lacerations to the mouth, to the anus, was turned out when it was looked at by the experts, there was not one laceration at all, not to the mouth, not to the anus. Everything, even an expert that came along later, world recognized Dr. Block, death expert, said this didn't happen. And there's nothing, he said, there's nothing in the Tulsa ME report that even substantiates her claim, her own claim.
So you can see what they do is they just buffalo these people. Later in the report, it talks about class or wealth discrimination where they press so many issues against the defendant that it's beneficial to the defendant to plea out because they don't have the money. They don't have the money to argue about it. I want to read something real quickly from the Tamsin Bowles court victim response where she's quoted about how they came and took her children. Remember, a lot of people may see this and they think, well, yeah, not me, not my area, whatever. That was Wagoner County we're talking about with the Woolley family, where they came in and took the children forcibly. I managed, so here is Tamsin Bowles had the similar experience where Steve Kunzweiler, Tulsa District County District Attorney, is also somehow part of this. She says, I managed to get my children into the bedroom and close the door, but the deputy opened the door, and I proceeded to run with both my children toward a closet. By that time, there was already a second deputy in the bedroom. I was grabbed by these deputies one at a time as I was running with my boys toward the closet. The two deputies cuffed me, arrested me, and manhandled me all in front of my babies. They left me bruised and injured to the point where I had to visit an emergency room later that week. So this is all an attempt to protect the children from the parents. Now, isn't it interesting? We've lived through a most recent time where the FBI, a federal investigatory agency, has accused parents in general of being domestic terrorists. And here we are with Steve Kunzweiler right here in Oklahoma pressing parents against their right to raise their children. Remember, part of the Tamsin Bowles story is the Bowles family didn't want to vaccinate their children because they don't want to vaccinate their children. But the state says that by not vaccinating your children, you are somehow neglecting or abusing your children. Kevin Batts, how are we going to tie this together from a national state issue to today's everyday listener? I need your audio. We're missing your audio.
Oh, and the thing that I'm back. I'm good now. The thing that the listeners need to take away from this, the number one thing, is that something that Bill Woolley said. I couldn't find the part I was looking for it, but this is the key takeaway from this entire episode. Simpson Bowles, all these different things. He said that this isn't about black or white. This is about class. These agencies are going after lower middle class families for this kind of harassment because they figure you don't have the means to fight back. And 99% of the time, they don't. And they say with these prosecutors use this, the law enforcement and the DHS work hand in hand. The DHS gets funding based off of these type of things. They get to prove their worth. So there's their thing that they get. The law enforcement side, the prosecutor gets to add a notch on his belt. So when he comes to you, these are Republicans, by the way. Don't get this twisted. This ain't no Democrat plot. This ain't no socialist plot.
Right.
These are Republicans doing this. So they get to add another notch in their belt when they come to you at the end of the election year and at the beginning of the election season and say, I have this many prosecutions. It's not the amount of prosecutions a district attorney has. It's the quality of prosecutions that a district attorney has. So you have to make sure you're looking at these people and you're figuring out just who are you prosecuting? Are you prosecuting people with false, they said the coroner basically made this up. Coroner made it up. And I'm sure this coroner is off scot-free running around doing what they want to do. In a normal world, these people would lose their retirements and they would lose their jobs at a minimum. But we're not living in these normal times anymore. And it's sad to say, but this has been going on for a long time in Oklahoma and every other place around the United States.
I mean,
this is an epidemic where law enforcement goes after the people.
That's my point. I mean, everybody's familiar with The Making of a Murderer, the whole series on Hulu or whatever it is about up in Wisconsin, where, I mean, it's basically a carbon copy of the same thing where prosecutors and judges and detectives and supervisors decide what they're going for. And that's just as facts be damned. And so the power of DHS to take your children away by simple accusation is off the charts here. Okay, parents have better wake up. If you think it's a joke, they're coming after your children. They are coming after your children. Ask Tamsin Bowles. They'll pin you down in the back of your seat of your car to take your children.
Kids.
They'll take your children.
For a lie.
For a lie, a simple accusation. That's what I'm saying. This is Fahrenheit 451. All I got to do is make an accusation against anyone, and here they come.
And once they get your kids in the state, they're going to get them in the system.
So,
and if you don't think they're all kind of child predators inside this system and people leeching off the system to get money per child, there's sex trafficking going on. Your kids are being put out into a system that essentially enables trafficking of children. So your children are being kidnapped and they're being brought into a system where they're going to get into they're going to see all kinds of calamities.
Even Steve Kunzweiler in Tulsa County is tied to the Tamsin Bowles take your children away, separate families routine, which is just Steve Kunzweiler in Tulsa County is a leftover holdout from the Tim Harass age. Okay. And I was prevented from talking about that on KFAQ by Pat Campbell back when it all happened. And so it's quite unfortunate that today's world we're living, where Steve Kunzweiler stands up to take children away from Tamsin Bowles and her family based on an allegation from a peeping Tom to say that children had bags under their eyes. It's insane. So the reason I bring that up as a personal Tulsa city level issue is because most people who watch this will think this is not an issue that affects them. And I'm saying that it's Tulsa City, Tulsa County, it's Wagoner County, it's the statewide, it's Rick Hubbard. It even goes all the way out to Trump, where he can't defend himself with the Fifth and Fourth Amendment without being suggested that he's obstructing justice. He doesn't
even get attorney-client privilege. So, I mean, that's right. And that right there is unheard of. So you have no rights. If you go against the state, you have no rights. This paper, it's just paper to them. They don't care.
Right.
So we're living in 1984. We're living in Fahrenheit 451.
So anyway, I'm telling you, I'm off the edge. We got about 8 minutes. So tell them again where to find you, how to support you.
project46.com. That's where we're not really sure how we're going to premiere this yet, or how we're going to break it up. I would imagine if it's going to be premiering on Thursday sometime, probably around noon. And part one will be maybe it'll be on Facebook, and then the complete version will be on project46.com. Sorry to do that to you. I know we've had some people kind of not be happy with that, but yeah, we got to pay the bills, man. I'm driving all around the state. Dude. I'm paying $1,000 in equipment. Got to pay the bills. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get rich off of this, but I gotta pay these bills, man.
Dylan Goforth from the Frontier begs for money, and he threatens to kill people if he can't watch a movie. I mean, my God, yeah. So really, we're infiltrated with the Matrix, no doubt about it. So, and Project is all letters. Is that correct?
Yep, all letters. Project 46. FORTYSIX. Yes, sir.
All
46
right,
state in the union.
One of the reasons we bring Kevin and Janelle Batts Productions from Red River TV, project46.com, to 3D Politics is because they bring high quality current product information that is pertinent to the viewers and listeners here at 3D Politics. So, Kevin, I think we're going to send you out of here. What else have you got before we leave out of here that you want to tell us?
I will say this. Hopefully the next time I come on here, we'll be premiering our next documentary. We are writing it right now. We're not even writing it. We just started compiling we're still compiling all the evidence, but it's exposing the truth behind the energy sector and the attacks coming from the globalists on the energy sector, and where those ties come from, and all the different nuances that's around it. We have whistleblowers that are coming forward that are going to go on video to expose the things going on in America, in Texas, in Oklahoma, with the oil and gas sector, and the leftist penetration of that entire industry, and what it means for your pocketbooks, and why this is only the beginning of high gas prices. There is a cartel at work, and they are doing this. This is happening by design, and we have all the evidence. We're compiling it right now, and we hope to have that documentary out by mid-December, I'm thinking.
I mean, it is amazing how fast we're working here, and Project 46 is always on top of it with the kind of high-quality video that we can only desire here at 3D Politics. So remember, catch him, Kevin Batts, out there at Red River TV, project46.com. And so, Kevin, thanks once again for bringing this stuff. If they want to see this exclusive forensic documentary evidence, where do they go? I mean, is it something they can find, or do they?
Are you talking about for the new documentary we're going to be working on?
The Woolley.
Oh, the Woolley.
No, the Woolley Family.
The Woolley Family will be. It'll be premiering on Facebook on Thursday at, I'd say, 1 p.m., no later than 1 p.m. It will be premiering. Well, I will say that it won't be the full thing. It'll be a piece of it, and you'll be able to watch the rest of it on project46.com. Okay,
so they're going to be able to catch it, and parts of it at least, and find out where to find the rest of it.
Absolutely.
Very good. We're going to take you out of here now and beam you away. Kevin Batts, we appreciate you being here. Once again, we're going to try to have him back on a regular basis to bring him and his fine video production with all the cutting edge, etc., to 3D Politics. Next week, I've got to thank Oklahoma City mayoral candidate Frank Urbanek. Here comes Frank Urbanek next week on 3D Politics to talk about the main 3 spear points of his campaign to halt the Holt. We'll see you guys next week.